Because I speak so emphatically about this process that Earth is moving through right now, this process of transformation where the old is falling away, the new is being reborn through us and around us, people often come to me and ask me, Aaron, what do you think's going to happen? Or they'll bring some specific prediction of some terrible thing that might happen in the world, sometimes some positive things, but often it's this fearful thing of, oh, I heard this person I trust say this negative thing is going to happen. I have this foreboding sense that something bad is going to happen, or the bad guys, the elite, the whatever you think that they are, the dark beings on this planet, they're planning this thing next. And they'll ask me, what do you think's going to happen? What's going to happen? And the phrase that God gave me in response to this question years ago was, what do you think's going to happen? Retire the question and live the answer. Live the solution. So this is about flipping our perception from looking at the external world as 100% controlling us, acting upon us, and starting to see ourselves as the actor, as a co-creator of the experience, not giving our power away to external circumstances. Most of humanity has not yet realized and remembered our creative power, meaning that our consciousness is what is upholding and creating this whole experience. And it is a co-creation. We all have our own personal realities from one perspective, and we're all seeing things through our own lens. And we also have a collective unconscious, a collective subconscious, and our subconscious is what we create from, right? You can think something, oh, I want this to happen, but what's going to be brought into reality is generally what we feel deep within ourselves is natural and normal, and it's what we expect, right? It's why you see some people who maybe had a really negative childhood, had a lot of trauma, and they're in a story of no one loves me, I'm not supported, people are out to get me. And somehow they keep having people who are out to get them. Somehow they keep picking relationships that treat them the same way as their parents, and they might not even see that cycle unfolding. Or you see someone who's had a beautiful childhood, or they've healed, they've done some deep reprogramming work, and they've got a story of life is working out for me. And they feel that within their bones, and they've got data to support it at this point. And they see, I get the parking spot, I get the client, I'm in a beautiful relationship, right? Things that seem to be a problem, somehow they get worked out, right? Maybe that's a belief connected to the idea of God is behind me, God supports me, God has got my back. That sense of I'm held and I'm loved and I'm supported, you can see how that manifests externally for people. So this is happening on a personal level, but it's also happening on the collective level. The level of programming to expect and predict terrible things happening in the world has been extensive. Think about how many zombie movies you've seen. Think about how many apocalypse movies you've seen. Think about what is on the news 24/7. And some people might look at that and say, no, the news is just reporting what's happening. But that again is seeing the world as an external effect or an external cause on you, rather than as an effect of what is being believed and seeded into the consciousness. So we're seeing all of this imagery, all of this, oh, the world's going to fall apart in this way. I remember we were not really allowed to watch much TV back in the day. Thank you to my parents for that. But when I would see TV, it was always, oh, tonight at 8 p.m., this thing that's going to kill you, or this terrible thing that happened. And I grew up in New York City, so there was, fair share of all kinds of wild stuff happening. And that expectation of there's something new and bad that's going to happen has been so programmed into us. And just take a second and feel where that lives within you, that part of you, as optimistic as you may be, that is very familiar with the latest terrible thing happening. And we can see how this is on a loop collectively. And so this idea that humanity is doomed, the end times are here, this next bad thing is going to happen, we as people who are conscious, if you're watching this video and you haven't clicked off and you're resonating on some level, you are part of the group of souls that is here to do something new, to birth a new way of being, to call our consciousness back from this programming and say, I don't consent I'm going to do the work to start to look for good things happening in the world. I'm going to do my part to start to imagine something better so that I can become familiar with it. This is a big realization I had back in the day when I was an activist. And I was a real hardcore community organizer, deep activist, raging against the man, organizing protests, really engaging with how do we get the power back from these institutions that are harming people? And I was very aware of the harm being done in my own life, in my own traumatic experiences, as well as in the world around me. I had this sense of, it's got to be better than this. There's something that's off at a fundamental level, and I want to figure out how to change it. It shouldn't be like this. Life should be better than this trauma drama that we're all living. Like, where's the justice? Where is the love? That's a big question that's been guiding me my whole life. And I remember at a certain point looking around and saying, how are we going to know when we get to freedom, when we get to world peace? Because we're so not free right now. We are so not at peace. Seeing all of the other activists I was working with, people so burnt out, people self-sacrificing, lots of infighting, just basic human drama as occurs in most situations. And I felt like, where's the seed of the new? We're just tussling with the old. We're in this. That is something I heard Richard Rudd say, and my beautiful partner Christina shared this with me a little while ago about the idea of revolution, which is just a revolution where you're cycling versus rebirth, actually being reborn into a new experience. It has to come from seeding the new in the old. So this is why I created 4 years ago now what I call the Future World Meditation. It's a free resource. You can find it at the link below. And it's a resource where you spend 16 minutes going into a world where everyone is free, going into a world where everyone thrives. And it's basically going to the gym for your consciousness, remediating your optimism muscle, remediating your consciousness's expectation about what is going to happen in the world. And for anyone who might feel like this is like woo-woo or it's too esoteric, in my experience, this is incredibly practical because our subconscious beliefs subconsciously inform all of our choices. So if you don't have a vision of a healed and whole world, if you're not in a relationship with how good it could be, if you're not filling your consciousness with more images of goodness, more evidence of love and freedom and healing, then you are getting programmed with all the negativity, all the past, all the trauma drama, then you're going to recreate the same. You're not going to see the opportunities in the physical reality to take actions that would lead to a different result. So this is about doing our subconscious part to make ourselves available for the miracle, to get ourselves out of the cycle and into a new experience. So if you're someone who's asking, what's going to happen, or you're kind of tracking from a more fearful perspective these different predictions about what's going to happen in the world, know that anytime you say, yes, that's definitely going to happen, or of course the bad guys did this, or of course this thing is falling apart, of course this war is happening. Anytime you do that, you're casting a little vote for that energetic reality. And it's a big ship to turn around. If you think about the momentum of a big ocean liner just cruising, so much momentum, just barreling through generation after generation of programming here. This stuff is living epigenetically in our DNA, right? Your ancestors' fear and expectation of negativity is living within you, truly, until you've begun to reprogram it. And also your ancestors' hope and love and wisdom. Right? There's these lineages that have carried wisdom, carried knowledge of truth, of God, of love, of awakening, of freedom as well. So let's not forget that. But if you are seeing the world through this distorted lens of negativity, you're casting a vote for it. And it's going to take a lot of reseeding, a lot of rescinding certain votes and then moving them over to the new timeline, moving them over. Okay, maybe if I've been living in 80% negative expectation and then a few little positive moments here and there, even getting to 75-25, that's significant, right? And then I get to keep moving 50-50. And then we get to that 51-49 point where we're energizing more positive expectation and we're participating from our consciousness, but then also in our action in building a better world. So the invitation here is to retire the question and live the solution. And I always bring this to God if we feel limited, if we're like, but what does that even mean? How do I reprogram my subconscious? We'll use the future world meditation for that, but how are we going to get to that better world? How are we going to break these chains of these really significant cycles and deep conditioning? Give it to God. And for me, this is about saying, I am one aspect of consciousness and God is the all. So I'm taking myself out of my limited small self perspective and opening up to the vast potential of information and possibility and saying, God, I'm willing to surrender my misperceptions. I'm willing to surrender the construct that I'm in right now. Bring me something new. Show me how the new experience is meant to unfold. This is how we make ourselves available for miracles. So next right action is go listen to the Future World Meditation, and it's going to guide you into what you already know to be true, the dreams that already live in you of how good it could be in your own life and then also overall in the world. And then from that meditation, pick one thing that you can start to embody. What's one thing that comes through where you're like, oh, that's a part of this better world. How can you start to live it right here and now? Don't get overwhelmed about the whole big picture. Get current, get present to what you can do today, and then it's going to keep unfolding from there. So I hope this serves you, and until the next video, I'm sending you so much love.